always great little solos that you wanted to hear again instead of really, 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 really look what I can do.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. Adrien, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I know that whenever you work on a new album, there's always a lot of demand and a lot of press, and so I very much appreciate you taking the time. But before we even get to that, in a few days from now, your team, FC Twente, will play Riga in the Conference Cup for qualification. Does that mean that you are already very nervous about that game, or are you a very relaxed, casual football fan?
Yeah, I'm the latter. It's I do enjoy going to a football game when it's in my hometown with FC Twente, the team that you just talked about, and but I'm not a very big. I'm not very big on hanging in front of a TV with a bag of chips in my hand and watching a soccer game. You know, I like to feel that stadium vibe. It's very close to a rock show. You know, there's like all this excitement, all this stuff is going on, and so I like that. And so I don't really watch very often. It's every once in a while, you know. And I don't, to be honest, I don't really care, you know, who plays as long as it's a good game.
Goed balletje ertussen. Univar met de tijd. En dan wordt die bal weggehaald en rebound binnen.
Obviously, we're here today to talk about Sin, the new album. Depending on how you look at it, it's the second album of the new Life of Vandenberg, is a fifth album. But one thing that stood out for me as I was listening and watching some of your other interviews is that you were sharing, well, the previous album, 2020, it was really well received by the fans, got lots of great commentaries, but you've mentioned that you weren't super happy about the sound of that album, and that was a big inspiration for you when you were writing Sin. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Well, I was super happy with it, and still am. I just thought it would be cool to switch it into a little bit of a higher gear, so to speak, because I'm not a big fan of repeating myself, you know.
Yeah.
And as like the diehard Vandenberg fans know, every Vandenberg album always sounded a little bit different.
Right.
Especially, you know, I'm always very on the point of trying to avoid any automatic pilot syndrome situations, you know. So I always keep myself out of that, whether it's in a live show or whether it's for an album. And I always enjoy challenging myself, and in this case the whole band, of course, because and Mats, Kenny, and Koen, Mats, Randy, and Koen. They also, you know, I've explained in the beginning, you know, guys, we're gonna switch to a little bit higher gear, you know, a little bit heavier sound, a little bit more of everything, basically.
When you say, like, you know, I want to make sure I don't repeat myself, you obviously have, I mean, you're not at the very start of your career anymore. You've played on a lot of albums, you've done a ridiculous amount of shows. Is that still easy for you? Is everything still in here that you just know, like, oh, that's too close to what I've done? Or do you, like, I remember in an interview not too long ago, Paul McCartney said like that he hired somebody when he was writing a new album to basically just be his fact checker that, oh no, you've written a song like that before. Like, is that something that you can still do?
No, because it's for me, I always try to compare it with, I stick out my mental antenna, so to speak, and whatever it picks up, when it excites me, like when I got my guitar in my lap, I go down, and suddenly I run into something, I go, oh, it's pretty cool. I record it on my iPhone or on my iPad or whatever, and next day or a couple of months later or whatever, I listen to it, if it doesn't excite me, then I throw it away. And when it does, I go, oh, I got something there. It's like a little lump of gold. You know, you go, oh man, I found one, and then I get really excited, and I don't really think about it too much, and I don't want to think about it too much, because I think one of the things that is very important in rock, it needs to have that spark and that energy. If it doesn't, rock is useless, you know. I know I've seen quite a number of bar bands, for instance, who cover AC/DC, for instance, or Van Halen, and it's rarely the same thing.
Right.
It seems so easy, but because it's so simple, it isn't. It's like blues, you know. You can hear on any corner, you can hear a blues band playing a Stevie Ray Vaughan song, but when Stevie Ray Vaughan plays it, you go, holy shit, what's going on over here, you know. And there's a Dutch saying that goes, maybe as a Belgian guy, maybe you're familiar with it. It's in the simplicity that it shows the master.
Right.
And that's how I look at it. You know, if you got a great chef preparing like a regular steak that anybody could do, basically, and then the chef makes it, you go, what is it? You know, it's always better than.
That seems to have been a bit of a mindset that you've always had, even in the very early days, because nowadays people will look at Vandenberg as well. There's Ad Vandenberg, a phenomenal guitar player. It's his band, and when there's countless examples of other bands out there where the focal point is a famous guitar player, and a lot of the material is heavily focused on showing the technicalities, long solos, a lot of over the top, if you will. You've stayed away from that, where it always feels like you've seemed to think about, let's put the song first, and the simplicity that you just mentioned, and that seems to be something that other well-known musicians kind of learn as a mantra over time, but you seem to have always had that. Like, do you know where that came from?
Well, it has a lot to do with the fact that I think I like to tell a little story within a story, and it doesn't have to be that long, much longer than 18 or 20 seconds. Maybe it has to do with the fact that my favorite bands when I grew up, you know, bands like and I mean, even Hendrix, you know, like that's still the ultimate guitar hero. If you look at his, pretty much all his recordings, they were always great little solos that you wanted to hear again, instead of wheedly, look what I can do, you know. For me, it's I don't consider myself a technical player. I'm really into melodic players, you know. I've always been, whether it started with guys like Leslie West, Eric Clapton in his days with the Cream, Brian May, Jeff Beck, you know, those guys, they always tell like a little story, and I love that. I love it when you are able to kind of hum big parts of a solo when you heard it a little bit. It becomes a part of the whole thing, you know. So for me, that's the most important thing. And I usually get kind of bored, you know, when I listen to another record from somebody that I really admire. Usually after 20-25 seconds, I've kind of heard it. No matter, the only exception is probably Jeff Beck, I think, because those are, I think, the only instrumental guitar albums that I really, really enjoy. Because, you know, he found a language, as I explain it, he found a language on his guitar that takes you places where you go, wow, man, so interesting.
He's got a
The title of the album is Sin, and you've already explained in other interviews that while it's a very broad definition, it can cover a lot of things. Is there some truth to this, or am I just making up stuff now? But it almost feels like half of the songs on the albums are like, you know, party hard rock songs where people commit the sins, and then there's other songs on the album where people kind of have to deal with the fallout of those sins and some sort of redemption even. Is there any truth to that, or am I completely off here?
It could be, this album actually is the first Vandenberg album under this name, where I collaborated with the singer, Mats Levin in this case, because he's got very interesting ideas about in his lyrics. I'm a kind of a happy-go-lucky guy, so the lyrics that I've always written in the past are usually not that they don't really have a dark side to them.
Right.
And what I liked about what happened with this album is the songs in. I came up with the theme and the chorus and those quieter parts, and Mats wrote those verses with it that I thought it fit perfectly. And there's definitely some dark stuff. And with all the other ones, when I'm writing, I automatically lyrics pop in my head and melodies and stuff. So with all the other ones, I basically sent Mats or let Mats know like the first line of a chorus that I had in mind, and he took it from there in the verses. So he pretty much always on this album gave a little bit of a darker twist to it than I would have done. Like for instance, House on Fire.
Right.
When I had that lyrical line and that whole party vibe, my idea was to go, let's set a house on fire, like a woo party. So what Mats did, he came up with this kind of tormented guy that was like jealous about everybody who had something that he wanted to have, and it took the better of him, and he wanted to set the house on fire. So I find it really interesting how, when I come up with just one line, he takes the ball and runs, it's like a rugby game basically, and comes up with these slightly darker twists that I come up with.
A lot of people, a lot of very excited people, when they heard songs of the new, a couple of singles have already been released. You'll see people say that, and often, Deep Purple, Whitesnake fans that go like, this sounds really cool to us. And the song Sin itself is a perfect example where Mats channels some Deep Purple or Whitesnake, depending on when you look in history. With everything, obviously, that happened with David and Whitesnake, and people looking at you now with like, wow, this is like stuff we can't get here, but we can get it here. Does that, even after all these years for you, create some level of pressure? Like, do you feel some sort of weight on your shoulders that you've got these armies of fans that are looking at you to fill a gap in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. But I don't think that's the case, because I'm as big as a fan of this kind of music as everybody who likes this stuff. So I wasn't really interested in, first of all, people who have been as long in the business as I have, they always mellow out. Usually I go the opposite direction, especially with this one. This is the hardest album I've ever made, the hardest in sense of,
intensity.
And I wanted to not intentionally avoid that, but that's just how I am, So I've always worn my influences proudly on my sleeve, as the saying goes, because I'm a fan,
Right.
I love Free, Bad Company, Deep Purple, Rainbow, Whitesnake. I was a fan years before I joined, and all those bands that make like passionate hard rock, and Van Halen, AC/DC, you name it, and I still listen to those bands. So for me, it's completely natural to write this kind of material, and I wrote it for Whitesnake too, David regularly mentioned that. He said, well, on the first couple of Vandenberg albums, there's a bunch of songs that could have been Whitesnake songs, songs like "You Love in Vain" or "Wait" or that kind of stuff, which was one of the reasons why you really wanted to work together and why we worked together so well.
Right.
So it's just, the thing with me is that when I took quite a long hiatus. After 1999, when David decided to fold up Whitesnake as we knew it, I decided it was a good time to catch up on my painting and to contribute to my daughters, to raising my daughter. And when I got back into writing and playing some 11, 12 years later, I found it really easy, a lot easier than before. I thought, well, people will have forgotten about me, who cares, I'm just going to make the music I love and make it from the heart. That's the only thing for me that is important about any kind of music, but with this kind of rock, people feel it, including myself, right away when it's not made out of passion or when, okay, let's do another record, let's try to make the same record that we did 20 years ago because maybe people will like it, That's not what I want to do, because that's when I would fall into the trap of Automatic Pilot.
I'll set your house on fire.
You just mentioned not only the earlier days of Vandenberg and the influences you had, you also mentioned, taking more time to dedicate yourself on other things while you were taking a hiatus from music, including painting. So we have to obviously also talk about the artwork. What all your fans know, but people watching this interview might not know, is that, the artwork is also from your hand. You are a very talented painter. And there is a bridge built with earlier works from Vandenberg. And there's similarities with Heading for a Storm album. Are you a guitarist that likes to paint? Do you consider yourself a painter that can play guitar? Is it both the same kind of outlet for you? Like what's that? How does that feel for you as the artist?
Yeah, for me it's the same. I always try to explain it as I'm tapping from the same source. For instance, I love to cook. It's the same source for me too, because you're composing with flavors, and as a painter you're composing with shapes and colors. I've always done it ever since I was a kid. I was either drawing or painting all day ever since I was 3 or 4 or 5 or something. And my mom always told me later on that when I was about 6 or 7, I was walking around the house with one of my dad's cigar boxes, and we had elastic bands over it, and I went wow 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 until it drove her crazy. And then I went drawing again. So there was a period, probably up until I was 8 or 9, where I assumed that everybody did it. Thought, why doesn't that? And then I realized that was not as normal as I thought, and I wondered why doesn't everybody do that? It's so much fun, But of course, it has to do with like an internal urge to do it,
Right.
And for me, it's the same. The only thing is a bigger difference since the 80s, actually, since the Alibi album in 86, when I always made it, or also made it the cover. They are big oil paintings. They're about a meter by a meter. This was the first time since 1986 that I painted in this style again. Yeah. Because I had the idea it would be pretty cool to make a connection with all that time ago, you're talking about almost 40 years ago. And then I thought about the cover of Heading for a Storm, which is the 3 sharks flying over a highway in a desert. I thought, I never thought about where were those sharks flying to. Yeah. And then I suddenly had like this little light bulb over my head. I thought, oh, wait a minute. I can connect it to sin, like New York is the city of sin. So how about if I let those sharks fly into New York, the city of sin? And then there's also the connection, the biblical connection of the original sin is Eve and Adam, and the snake and the apple. Yeah. And the second name of New York, people call it the apple. I thought, there's a great overall connection that goes in all kinds of directions. Yeah. So that's when I had that image in my mind, and I thought, okay, I'll do that. But I hadn't painted in that style since '86, so it was one of those things, and it's basically a story of my life. I just launch myself into a situation of something that I've never done before, and I'll see where it goes.
Yeah, for sure.
There was some time pressure because on a Saturday I was going to fly to Los Angeles for a little bit of last recording on the guitar and the mixing. And I thought, oh, I'll have this painting done in about 3-4 days. That's what I, at the time, remember I did. But this time it was a little bit more complicated because the sky actually already took me 3 days because it's about 20 layers of really thin paint. So I wanted to get a depth of the northern lights in Scandinavia. You can't really see it in print. It's always the case. In print it becomes a lot flatter. But I thought, oh man, I only have 2 days left. I better get going. And so it took me another 2.5 days to finish the rest. In the middle of the night, at the very last day before I was flying out. So a friend of mine picked up the painting the next day when I was already on the plane, and he took it to the photographer. And the photographer sent it to the record company, so it was all just in time. But I underestimated the whole thing so much because there's so much detail in it. Every window has got a different kind of light, and it's all different, and it's all phew. So that was another example of challenging myself and going, oh, what have I done,
Forget about the technicality of it and the work that goes into it and the time pressure. Reviving a theme or an artwork or making that connection with a classic album from 40 years ago. That could also backfire. Is that something like, was it scary to get going with it?
No, again, there's the same thing. I always think, okay, I'll just do it, bam, boom, and whatever, I think I had that image in my mind with the northern light. I thought, oh man, it's gonna look cool. And I got that 3 paintings hanging in my workroom, my little recording room and stuff, and they are basically, they cover like the whole phase of my life, which is great to look at, and whenever I play some of the music of the Sin album, which is actually together with the 2020 album, I've played this album a lot for myself in the car. It's great car music, And so, it's just like, for me, it's. I read you mentioned Paul McCartney earlier. I read an interview with Paul McCartney a while ago, and he said this. He described exactly how I feel about writing songs. You make it for yourself. First of all, you want to make it. You make it for yourself, and if you're pleased with it, then you hope that other people are going to like it too. But in the first place, you make it for yourself because you have to. You have that urge. Another quote, and this time from Mick Jagger, I think it was. I'm quoting some serious people here, but when they asked him years ago, probably like maybe he was in his 30s or something. I don't know. They asked him, so you're getting up there age-wise. He says, isn't it time to maybe think about doing some other stuff? He says, well, it's easy for you to say, but music is not something that you choose to do. Music chooses you. And that's exactly how I have always felt it, because I really want to do that, and I don't feel complete if I don't.
The album's going to come out later this month. We've seen some singles already, some videos, but all the fans out there, I know that you're planning shows and tours. What should we keep our eyes open for?
We're going to start with a couple of Dutch shows. The problem, it's not really a problem, but because this album is out pretty late in the year, programmers of clubs and stuff and festivals have already planned programmed their venues. So we're really aiming for 2024, which is actually going to start off with a North American tour, starting in February, about 30 shows. A part of it is going to be a co-headlining with Jeff Tate from Queensryche, right? And the other half are going to be headlining shows. it's going to be East Coast. The plan is to later in the year, probably after the summer, do the West Coast in North America, and European tours and under construction, and it looks like the Japanese shows are also in the pipeline. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's going to be interesting because I haven't really done like serious tour for quite a while actually since Whitesnake. Because when you live in Holland, you do a couple of shows and you go back home, a couple of shows here, there. Like a lot of guys are doing in the States right now, you know?
Right.
You're flying out of LA for 2 or 3 shows in a weekend and go back home. Yeah. That's how we used to do it in Holland, because Holland is so small. You can always drive back, even if you play in Belgium, you know?
Yeah.
You can, in 3 hours, you're back home. So it's going to be interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it, because the cool thing about touring is all you have to do is focus on the gig. You travel around like a bunch of gypsies. Sometimes you eat crappy food, you know. Sometimes it's nice. It's like an adventure.
Well, I know for a fact that a lot of people here in North America can't wait for that adventure for you to start again. It would be fantastic to see you on a stage again. Adrien, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. It's a really fun new album coming out. Like you said, it's probably the heaviest album you've ever released, and a lot of people will be very happy with that. Thank you so much for your time. I do appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you on a show.
My pleasure. I'm looking forward to that. Take care, man.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.